there, CK 4th and 5th graders. Mrs. Bark here, and this is Dexter. He can't resist a good chance to sit on my lap whenever I'm sitting down. Hope you guys are all doing well and not going too stir crazy, being stuck inside during the day doing schoolwork and, all the craziness that's going along with these times. I'm doing okay, can't complain. We just finished reading that fun story in 4th grade. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it'll come to me. So I thought we would start over with a new book, and for 5th graders, if you're watching, we are going to read The World According to Humphrey. And my intention with these videos is that those of you who are doing all of these book club books and reports, and especially right now that you're doing them at home without the guidance of your teacher, my goal is to kind of give you some points on how to take good notes, how to identify when you're reading what something might be that you should probably jot down, that you don't just go up to your bedroom or your quiet space, wherever you are, and read, and then the next day your mom, in my case, is asking you, okay, but what about this or what about that? And you're looking at yourself going, I guess I didn't take that good of notes, and maybe I was distracted by whatever brother and sister were doing, or the fact that you're not in your classroom with your teacher helping you to guide these kinds of ideas. So I know some of you have probably read this before, but like I said, I'm going to try and make this into kind of a lesson. So first things first, you all know, look at the cover, look at the title. It's by Betty G. Burney, and the back gives you a tiny little bit about this. So welcome to Room 26, Humphrey. You can learn a lot about life by observing another species. That's what Humphrey was told when he was first brought to room 26. And boy, is it true. In addition to his classroom escapades, each weekend this amazing hamster gets to sleep over with a different student. Soon Humphrey learns to read, write, and even shoot rubber bands, only in self-defense. Humphrey's life would be perfect if only the teacher wasn't out to get him. Okay, so this should be an interesting story, right? I haven't read it before. The Return of Mrs. Brisbane, Chapter 1. Today was the worst day of my life. Ms. Mack left room 26 of Longfellow School for good, and that's bad. Worse yet, Mrs. Brisbane came back. Until today, I didn't even know there was a Mrs. Brisbane. Lucky me. Now I want to know, what was Ms. Mack thinking? She must have known that soon she'd be leaving without me, and that Mrs. Brisbane would come back to room 26, and I'd be stuck with her. I still love Ms. Mack more than any human or hamster on earth. But what was she thinking? You can learn a lot about yourself by taking care of another species, she told me on the way home that day she got me. You'll teach those kids a thing or two. That's what she was thinking. I don't think she was thinking very clearly. I'm never going to squeak to her again. Of course, I'm probably never going to see her again because she's gone. But if she comes back, I'm not even going to look at her. I know that last sentence doesn't make sense. It's hard to make sense when your heart is broken. On the other hand, until Ms. Mack arrived, I was going nowhere down at Pet-O-Rama. My days were spent sitting around looking at a bunch of furry things in cages just like me. We were treated all right, regular meals, clean cages, music piped in all day. Over the music, Carl, the store clerk, would answer the phone. Open 9 to 9, 7 days a week. Corner of 5th and Adler, next to Dairy Maid. Sorry, that was Alder. Back then, I feared I'd never see 5th and Alder, much less the Dairy Maid. Sometimes I'd see human eyes and noses, not always as clean as they should be, poking up against the glass. Nothing ever came of it. The children were excited to see me, but the parents usually had other ideas. Oh, come see the fishes, Cornelia, so colorful and so much easier to take care of than a hamster, Mama might say. Or, no, Norbert, they have the cutest little puppies over here. After all, a dog is a boy's best friend. So there we were, hamsters, gerbils, mice, and guinea pigs, not nearly as popular as the fish, cats, or dogs. I'd suspected that I'd be spinning my wheel at Petorama forever. But once Ms. Mack carried me out the doors, a short 6 weeks ago, my life changed fast, fast, fast. I knew Fifth. I saw Alder. I saw the Dairy Maid with the statue of a cow in an apron outside. I was dozing when she first came to Petorama, as I do during the day because hamsters are more active at night. Hello, a warm voice awakened me. When I opened my eyes, I saw a mass of bouncy black curls, a big, happy smile, huge dark eyes. She smelled of apples. It was love at first sight. Aren't you the bright-eyed one? She asked. And might I return the compliment? I replied. Of course, it came out squeak, squeak, squeak as usual. Ms. Mack opened up her purse with the big pink and blue flowers on it. I'll take him, she told Carl. He's obviously the most intelligent and handsome hamster you have. Carl grunted. Then Ms. Mack picked out a respectable cage. Okay, not the 3-story pagoda I'd had my eye on, but a nice cage. And soon, amid squeals of encouragement from my friends in the small pet department, from the teensiest white mouse to the lumbering chinchilla, I left Petorama with high hopes. We sped down the street to Ms. Mack's bright yellow car. She called it a bug, but I could see it was really a car. She carried my cage up the stairs to her apartment. We ate apples. We watched TV. She let me run around outside my cage. She gave me my very own name, Humphrey. And she told me all about room 26, where we'd be going the next morning. And since you are an intelligent hamster who is going to school, I have a present for you, Humphrey, she said. Then she gave me a little notebook and a tiny little pencil. I got these for you at the doll shop, she explained. She tucked them behind my mirror where no one could see them except me. Of course, it might be a while before you learn to read and write, she continued, but you're smart and I know you'll catch on fast. Little did I know I could already make out some words from my long, boring days at Petorama. Words like chew toys, kibble, pooper scoopers. Remember, a hamster is grown up at about 5 weeks old, so if I could learn all these skills I need for life in 5 weeks, how long could it possibly take to learn to read? I'll tell you, a week. Yep, in a week I could read and even write a little with a tiny pencil. In addition to schoolwork, I learned quite a bit about the other students in room 26, like lower your voice AJ and speak up Saye and wait for the bell Garth and Golden Miranda. Even after I found out her name is really Miranda Golden, I thought of her as Golden Miranda because of her long blonde hair. After all, I am a golden hamster. Yes, life in room 26 suited me well during the day. My cage had all the comforts a hamster could ask for. I had bars on the windows to protect me from my enemies. I had a little sleeping house in one corner where no one could see or bother me. There was my wheel to spin on, of course, and a lovely pile of nesting material. My mirror came in handy to check my grooming and to hide my notebook. In one corner, I kept my food. The opposite corner was my bathroom area because hamsters like to keep their poo away from their food. Who doesn't? All my needs were taken care of in one convenient cage. At night, I went home from school with Ms. Mack, and we watched TV or listened to music. Sometimes Ms. Mack played her bongo drums. She made a tunnel on the floor so I could race and wiggle to my hamster heart's content. Oh, the memories of those 6 weeks with Morgan McNamara. That's her real name, but she told her students to call her Ms. Mack. That's how nice she is, or was. On the weekends, Ms. Mack and I had all kinds of adventures. She put me in her shirt pocket, right over her heart, and took me with her to the laundry room. She had friends over, and they laughed and made a fuss over me. She even took me for a bike ride once. I can still feel the wind in my fur. I didn't have an inkling until this morning of the unsqueakable thing she was about to do to me. On the way to work, she said, Humphrey, I have to tell you. I hate to tell you, but this is my last day in room 26, and I'm going to miss you more than you'll ever know. What was she saying? I hung onto my wheel for dear life. You see, it's really Mrs. Brisbane's class. But just before school started, her husband was in an accident, so I took over the class. Today, she's coming back for good. Good? I could see nothing good in what Ms. Mack was saying. Besides, I want to see the world, Humphrey, she told me. Fine with me. I thoroughly enjoyed all the world I've seen so far. I will go to the ends of the earth with Ms. Mac. But she wasn't finished yet. But I can't take you with me. All hope's dashed completely. Besides, the kids need you to teach them responsibility. Ms. Brisbane needs you too. Unfortunately, she didn't tell Mrs. Brisbane that. Mrs. Brisbane was already in room 26 when we arrived. She smiled at Ms. Mac and shook her hand. Then she frowned at me and said, "Is that some kind of rodent?" Ms. Mac gave her the speech about how much kids can learn from taking care of another species. Mrs. Brisbane looked horrified and said, "I can't stand rodents. Take it back." The it she was talking about was me. Ms. Mac didn't bat an eyelash. She put my cage in its usual place next to the window and said the kids were already very attached to me. She attached Dr. Harvey H. Hammer's Guide to Care and Feeding of Hamsters to the cage along with a chart to make sure I was fed and my cage was cleaned on time. "The children know what to do. You won't have to do a thing," Ms. Mac said, and Mrs. Brisbane glared at me. Just then, my fellow students came streaming into the room, and within half an hour, Mrs. Mac had said goodbye to everyone, including me. "I'll never forget you, Humphrey," she whispered. "Don't you forget me either." "Not likely, but I don't know if I can ever forgive you," I squeaked. And then she was gone, without me. Mrs. Brisbane didn't even come close to my cage until recess. Then she walked over and said, "Mister, you've got to go." But she doesn't know my secret. The latch on my cage door doesn't work. It never has. It's the lock that doesn't lock. So I've got news for Mrs. Brisbane. If I've got to go, it will be when and where I decide to go, not her. Meanwhile, I'm not turning my back on this woman, not for a second. If I ever disappear and someone finds this notebook, just check out Mrs. Brisbane, please. Tip 1. Choose your new hamster's home very carefully and make sure it is secure. Hamsters are skillful escape artists, and once out of their cages, they are very difficult to find. And it's from Guide to Care and Feeding of Hamsters by Dr. Harvey H. Hammer. Okay, so that was chapter 1. So if I were taking notes, you're definitely going to take some character notes on the 3 characters we've had so far. Ms. Mac, right? So she was a substitute for a little while, right? She likes hamsters, obviously. Good to the hamster, lets him out. Hamster's name is Humphrey, right? We know that he's nocturnal, right? Because he plays more at night than during the day. We know he's in a classroom. We know he's a golden hamster. He likes apples. Those are some of the things that you would take in the character notes. And then there's Mrs. Brisbane, who's obviously got a husband, who got in an accident, who's in charge of room 26, doesn't like rodents. Probably important information. And then main points of this chapter that I would write down in my notes was chapter 1. There's this hamster. He was in what's the name of the shop? See, look at me. I already forgot the name of the shop. You got to write that down. This is where I go back to the book and look to see what was the name of that store. Somebody out there probably remembers. Pet-O-Rama. So maybe you want to write down Pet-O-Rama, 5th and Alder was one of the settings, but clearly the main setting you can probably predict is going to be in room 26, right? So main point, hamster gets picked up by Ms. Mac from Pet-O-Rama. He gets sent to room 26 at, what was the name of the school? Lincoln School? I think it was something. Longfellow School. There you go. Room 26 of Longfellow School. So those are some of the main points. And then maybe the point about the fact that Ms. Mac was a substitute and now it's Mrs. Brisbane. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful to you. Hopefully you're going to like this story. I think it's kind of cute. I like animals myself. When we get closer to the end of the story, I'll maybe see if you want to shoot me an email and suggest a different book for me to read. But that was chapter 1. It looks like there are, let's see, how many chapters? 15. All right, so we've got a couple of sessions of this to read through. Hope you guys are doing well. Take it easy. Bye.